r/askreddit. Tattoo artists, what's the worst tattoo someone has asked you to do that you've refused? Once I was waiting at a shop, and a family came in because their teenage son wanted a hatchet man tattoo. My artist begrudgingly agreed to do the ink and sent them back to get ready. He walks over to me and tells me how much this kid is going to regret this stupid tattoo, and he normally has morals about what he will put onto people. But he really needed the money and the whole family was excited about his first tattoo. While the kid was getting his future regrets permanently applied, the dad was super excited to show me his cock that hangs below his knee. He rolls up his pant leg to reveal a huge full-colored tattoo of a rooster hanging from a noose, positioned below his knee. That takes dad jokes to a whole new level. Had a guy at a bar once ask if anyone would like to see his foot-long cock, while pointing down to the floor. He had a tattoo of a rooster that covered the entire top of his foot. I think I like the hanging cock better. I think I have crossed paths with this man. I've seen that exact tattoo, and did many a double take. My friend got drunk and tried to get a tattoo of his ex. Halfway through the tattoo, early stages, the tattoo artist realizes it's his ex, because they started talking and shit. My friend's very well thought through plan was to present the tattoo to his ex and get her back. So the artist tells him to get sober and come back the next day, refusing to finish the tattoo. My friend makes a fuss, but agrees. The next day my friend comes back and the artist offers several sketches on what he can do with the outline he started, refusing to finish it as the friend's ex. He ended up getting an astronaut staring at moon. One of the most cool looking tattoos I have ever seen. That artist is the definition of bro. I hope your friend took care of him for that. Maybe I'm just naive, but I thought most tattoo artists refuse to ink anyone that's visibly intoxicated. Given how he cared enough about your friend to not give that particular tattoo, I'm kind of surprised he even started on one for him that night. Once a young kid 21 came in and wanted Shrek around his dick and balls, not on it. It would look like Shrek was opening his mouth and his junk came out. That was the easiest no I've ever given. How damaged does one need to be to have an idea like that? I can't shake the feeling that he would have wanted his girlfriend to get a tat of Fiona on her so it looks like her vag would be a mouth. I bet his sex life is all Logan now. Pretty epic though. Imagine picking someone up in a bar knowing when you get to sexy time that they're about to see this for the first time. Imagine the look on their face when you reveal it. I'm fucking doubled over laughing. I don't think it'll stop. Some people aren't the sharpest tool in the shed. Edit. Thanks for the silver. A sad one was we once had an older lady come in who was completely high on some sort of opiate drunk as fuck, asking to get her new boyfriend's name tattooed on her. She was standing with her eyes shut, swaying back and forth, rambling about how she had to get new guy's name on her because he didn't like that her ex-husband's name was on her, but that she didn't really want to get the tattoo, but the new guy was insisting she did because he was really angry about it. She said he was outside waiting, and when I looked up he was standing with his arms crossed glaring at her through the window. That was a hard pass. Looked like a really awful situation for the woman. She did not seem in a good place. Have you been trained to recognize signs of human trafficking? Because woof. That new guy was either her pimp or he was a gang member of some kind. That's very common in those situations. Heard a story of an artist that was asked to do Minnie Mouse blowing Mickey Mouse on an elderly woman. Was the request by said elderly woman, or did someone roll in their comatose gran? Stupid, I know. The wording of your post made me laugh. My buddy said a dude asked him to draw pubes in for him because he couldn't grow them. Don't you have to be 18 to get tattoos? Bruh, this guy wants to get pubes drawn on while I'm king of the jungle down there. As with everyone else, not a tattoo artist, but asked the guy who does mine. He said he had a World War II fanatic who was a regular and got a lot of battle scene stuff and World War II nostalgia tattoos. The final piece he wanted was a portrait piece on his back of Hitler and Churchill. TA refused as he didn't want to be associated with tattooing Hitler on someone, but said the guy wasn't racist or anything, just a huge World War II buff. Wasn't me, but when I got my first tattoo I asked what was the worst they'd done. Turns out a girl came in drunk and got "fuck me here" in huge letters on her stomach with the arrow pointing down to her crotch. This was in Mallorca for anyone wondering. Maybe she just wanted to be fucked in Mallorca. It was much earlier in my career when I worked at a shop outside the city and closer to countryside. Got a request for a deer holding a hunting rifle with a tribal style cross in the background. Icing on the cake is he wanted the deer to be silhouetted, not with your typical black but with the Confederate flag pattern and colors. Have a vague memory of barbed wire somehow being in the mix. Not a tattoo artist, but when I bought my first tattoo machine to practice on fruit and stuff, my boyfriend's friend tried to convince me to give him a face tattoo as his first tattoo and my first time tattooing real skin. I vaguely remember he wanted it to have something to do with his girlfriend at the time. Could have been her name, but I'm not sure now. That was an easy no. I'm a hobby artist, painting, drawing, etc. My friend bought a tattoo gun and asked me to tattoo him. That was a hard no from me, as I have never tattooed anyone. I once refused to tattoo a girl and her father complained to me by yelling at me from about 2 feet away. She was 14, legal age where I live is 18, and she wanted her boyfriend's name above her eye. She was willing to compromise to her hand though. No. Bet her dad was the boyfriend. Obligatory not a tattoo artist, but I talked to one once. I asked them what their weirdest client had asked for, and they told me about the time an old guy, probably like 48 or something, wanted a tattoo of a random little girl on his chest. This girl wasn't even his daughter or grandchild, it was just a random picture of a little girl he'd seen on Facebook. That's super creepy. An old guy, probably like 48 or something. Old? 48. The big daddy on his dick. I said hell no. Like. From Bioshock? The only time I refused to do a tattoo was because this guy was creepy, everything was off. Insistent, trying to lower the price, I don't know. I just didn't want to give him an address at all. I can't explain it, sometimes I just get a sensation. My whole body tells me no, if you do this, you'll end up in the trunk of a car and I always trust myself so yeah. No tattoo for the guy that, by the way, claimed his wife was a tattoo artist if it's true, she'll do it lol. You know, I've only had that happen to me once, get that sensation. One time I was going back to my parents' place from college as there was an event nearby I wanted to check out, they live near DC. Before heading out, I checked out Facebook to see if any fellow students were making the trip and saw that some students were trying to organize couples or rides for those that didn't have a way to get there on their own. I put my name on the list that people could contact in case they needed a ride. I had put my name on the list the day before the event, figuring that everyone who wanted to probably already had a ride, so I'd be offering a ride to any last minute stragglers. I was going to see my parents, so it was on my way and I didn't mind. Well, so as soon as I finish packing my car, I am contacted by the organizer of the Facebook event, asking if I can give one person a ride. I say sure and give him my contact info so the person can contact me when they are ready to go. I go pick up the guy and right away things feel off. This guy is wearing a trench coat, a fedora, and looks to be in his late 30s. Mind you, this is a college town campus, where most people are in their 20s. But I figure, hey, maybe this guy is a late bloomer with no sense of fashion. Except, it will get worse before it gets any better. When trying to make conversation with him, he tells me that he is a new student. However, as I start asking him specifics about his major, how he likes his classes, professors, where in the campus his classes are, I notice that most of his answers are vague if not inconsistent. It seems like he is answering me based on information he has seen in a pamphlet for the university. I'm starting to get worried. It's 4.5 hours to get to our destination, so I stop by a gas station to fill up on gas while it's cheap. Seeing as how I'm giving him a ride, I ask him if he could chip in some money for gas if he doesn't mind, but he tells me that he has no money. An odd choice for someone who is making a 4-hour trip to another state, but whatever. Except, when I finish filling up and make my way back into my car, I notice him looking through my back seat where my luggage was. When he sees me notice him, he panics and quickly settles back into his seat. Suffice to say, by this point, I'm driving with a knife hidden in my door, just in case. As we keep driving and talking, he accidentally lets slip that he isn't actually a student. When I question him about the inconsistency in his story, he starts tripping over himself to explain that he is actually just auditing classes. My guard goes up even more. 2 hours into the trip, and my car gets a flat tire. I get out to inspect the damage and see if I can fix it myself. While I'm doing this, I notice the guy is still in his seat, hasn't moved, acting like nothing has changed, and is just staring at me. By this point, I'm freaked out as is and have decided to drive away from isolated areas. As I start inspecting the car, I realize I am unable to remove the flat tire and realize I will be needing a tow truck's assistance. I take my cell phone out to call up some roadside assistance but realize that my phone is running out of battery. So I ask my traveling companion if I can borrow his phone so I can call for help. He says that he can't because he doesn't have many minutes. I tell him that we have no other option because my phone is dead and we will be stuck there if we can't call anyone. He then says that his phone is also dying but I can use it if I really need to, though he says this while at the same time trying to tell me no. Before he can waffle his way into denying me again, I take the phone from his hand. While I'm calling roadside assistance, I notice his phone has a fully charged battery. If a cop hadn't shown up to check up on us while waiting for the roadside assistance, I would have been tempted to leave him at the side of the road by this point. I had enough of his sketchiness and general unhelpful attitude despite me giving me a free ride. But with a cop waiting with us, I felt safe enough to wait for my tire to be fixed and continue our journey, while I clutch desperately onto the knife I have hidden in my door. We finally make it close to our destination and I am an hour away from safety, so I ask him where he would like me to drop him off. It is at this point that he decides to drop the bombshell on me that he has nowhere to stay and wants to know if he can stay with me. I tell him I can't offer him a place to stay as I am staying at my brother's place on his sofa and he won't have any more room. He doesn't accept this and tells me how he would not cause any trouble and would just like somewhere to sleep. Again, I insist that it's not up to me to offer him a place to sleep, as it's my brother's house not mine. He says he will have to sleep in the streets as he has nowhere to stay. I tell him how he should have brought us up before we were already arriving at our destination and tell him it's up to him to figure it out. He actually gets the gall to ask me if I would consider driving back 4.5 hours to drop him off to campus, which I immediately reject. He again says how he will be forced to sleep on the streets and wants me to ask my brother if he can crash at his place. I tell him his lack of preparation is not my fault and his lodging is not my responsibility. Eventually, I have to make it clear that if he doesn't pick a place for me to drop him off at, I will be dropping him off at a homeless shelter, where he will be able to find temporary lodging. After a couple of back and forths, he finally relents and asks me to drop him off at a park in the middle of the city. But right before he leaves the car, he tries to guilt trip me one last time into letting him stay at my place. When he left, I finally sighed a breath of relief. He wanted me to meet up with him later that weekend to give him a ride back to campus, but luckily for me, I lost my phone at a party that weekend and wasn't able to get in contact with him again. To this day, I wonder if I had taken a more secluded road, maybe I wouldn't be around to write this little story. Edit. Typos and grammar. I've had that too. The reptilian subconscious brain knows things that we're not aware of and when it speaks you need to listen. One dude asked if I'd do a taint tattoo. I didn't even ask what he wanted. Big ol' no from me dog. Another funny one we didn't say no to, it just didn't happen for whatever reason, was this dude asking for a caricature of Trump on his ass cheek. Sad days when he no call no showed his appointment. Told this story before but here goes. Not an artist but this happened about 20 years ago. I remember my friend's sister wanted a tattoo of a scorpion on her pelvic region being that she was a Scorpio. She was immensely afraid of the pain in getting a tattoo so she went and got super drunk before doing so and had her 2 brothers and I go up with her and a friend. The artist knew this and refused to do the tat because of her condition for a number of reasons including legal. She could have sobered up and said she didn't ask for it or was not in her right state of mind. Health. Alcohol causes issues. Quality. The possible, extra bleeding and being that drunk people aren't the stillest bunch in the world the tat would probably come out looking like crap. She makes a big fuss about it saying she knows what she wants, she isn't drunk blah, blah. She mentions something about the artist missing his chance to get to see this pussy and flashes a gash at him and her brothers, and I saw too. This tattoo parlor also had a pool table, so she goes and knocks all the balls in the pockets thinking it was a pay table. It wasn't, and mentions something about them having to buy more balls. The 3 people that worked there had a funny yet if she fucks up anything seriously it's her ass look about them. The older brother finally snatches her up and carts her out while she screams something like "fuck it, I didn't want one anyway" on the way to the door, along with other vulgarities. The younger brother and I were apologizing to the others there, and they were like, "It's cool, just get her home safe, and if she still wants it when she sobers up, tell her to come on back." The next day the brothers told her about her actions and how embarrassing it was for all involved, and she felt pretty bad about it, so she went back, while sober, and apologized and got over her fear and got the scorpion tattoo from them. Trashy yet wholesome? Something about them having to buy more balls. The 3 people that worked there had a funny yet if she fucks up anything seriously. Whoa. Did not see the twist of her actually going back and getting it done. It may sound ridiculous, but honestly she sounds like a nice girl. Self-awareness is rare. Not a tattoo artist, but when I was get my sleeve finished I asked the guy doing mine this, and he said a guy came in wanting a tattoo of Trump shooting Obama. That's a yikes from me, dog. A naked woman masturbating with a carrot right to the left of his junk. I think he just wanted me to have to touch his dick. Country girls make do. My former artist got asked by a guy if he would tattoo a dick. He said for an extra £500 on top of the cost, then yes. Guy ducked out of that one. I then proceeded to ask him if he would tattoo my dick, thinking I was being funny. His response destroyed me. I can't do tattoos that small. Worst request I ever got. Extremely drunk college girl came in wanting her EXS name tattooed around her asshole because apparently, and I quote, he was a god at eating ass. Told her to come back sober, that I wasn't going to. Next day her friend came in and apologized and gave me $20 for not being a dick. Also part 2. This younger guy came in with a fake ID. The girl that used to run our front desk spotted it right away and called me over. I asked what he was wanting done and he proceeded to tell me he wanted a swastika in memory of his dad. Okay, well, shop policy, no racist or gang tats. I explained this and he's cool. He comes back a few days later absolutely shit-faced demanding I do this tattoo because he is a customer and I have to take his money if he wants it. I finally get sick of listening to the little shit complain and tell him flat out no. He didn't like that and said he would call his dad. Same dad he said he wanted the memorial tattoo of. We all called him out and he realized he fucked up, sprinted out of the shop and ran right into a parked car and knocked himself out. Ambulance and cops come talk to us then leave. Never saw him again. Edit. I only asked what the kid wanted because he was obviously on pills or something and wanted to keep him calm until we could get him out. I would never tattoo a minor no matter what. My dad actually owns a tattoo shop. Ironically he's the only pisser, but anyways, when I was talking to one of the artists, they told me that someone wanted to get George W. Bush on their upper thigh so they could say, "Hey, want to see my bush?" She didn't end up getting it tattooed, but fuck. I thought it was hilarious. Wasn't tattoo artist but was getting a tattoo done when this happened, but whilst mine was being done a shaved headed man walked in. Typical skinhead attire, but not all skinheads are Nazis, so didn't judge at first. When he asked for a swastika on his forehead in the style of Charles Manson. The tattoo artist wasn't overly pleased with that request and the man was quickly asked to leave. That one was pretty bad. I would do it. If the guy has a big swastika tattooed on his face, he's not going to be able to get an honest job anywhere. People will always know he is trouble and to stay away. I can't fathom the mind of someone who would think that would be acceptable. Obligatory, not a tattoo artist, but I asked this of mine. He says he once had a guy want a tattoo under his thumbnail, like he was gonna rip the nail off, then come into the studio so he could get a tattoo that would eventually be protected by a new thumbnail. That is the combination of genius and idiocy. I just can't decide in what proportion. Have a friend who's a tattoo artist, once had a woman come into his shop and ask for a full-sized ruler tattooed on her inner thigh because she was tired of guys lying to her. Another guy wanted his dick to have an elephant trunk tattoo with matching elephant ears on each thigh. Buddy told him, I'm sure you can get it done but I'm not fucking doing it. This dude proceeds to ask every artist in the shop only to be turned down and sent out to look for another shop. For real though, the ruler is kinda genius. Read this one to my wife and she said if you got that many guys lying to you, you got problems. My artist told me he refused a tutor to a woman who asked for a zipper along her pussy lips and a pull tab at the top, so it would look like it was unzipped as though her vag was some sort of grotesque change purse. Rustling sounds. Hold on, I think I have exact change. A middle-aged man just came in and asked, can you tattoo a tiger on my penis, and I just responded with, the door is that way. Not a tattoo artist, but I witnessed the refusal. When I was getting my second tattoo, a girl I went to high school came in and was wanting to price out one. It was basically one of those poems that are written into a shape, like a drawing made with words. I don't know what they are called. That was pretty intricate looking and she was adamant that she wanted it on her thigh. Tattoo artist tried explaining that with the size they wanted it, the words would be utterly illegible in the best of circumstances, but the girl kept insisting that it would be visible. In the end, the artist said she wasn't going to waste time on something she knew wasn't going to work. After the girl I knew left, she, artist, turned to me and mentioned that it wasn't the first time that girl had come in wanting something ridiculous or impossible and she hated dealing with her because she never took no for an answer. Unrelated to the topic, but I was also there one day when a girl and her dad came in. She had apparently just turned 17 and she wanted a tattoo and dad was along to get one too. The girl wanted Hello Kitty on her upper thigh, with a speech bubble that went above her privates that read hi there. She got the tattoo. My cousin is a tattoo artist and one guy wanted the original Halo symbol for legendary difficulty tattooed across his entire back. Guy wasn't even a former pro, he just really liked Halo. She couldn't convince him to go with a different design but was able to convince him to downsize it slightly to his shoulder. Not a tattoo artist, but I read that some woman once asked a tattoo artist to tattoo 2 lightning bolts on her. They were supposed to be next to each other and it would resemble SS. The tattoo artist said no. Then the woman asked would he be okay to do it but if they were blue. The answer was also no. 2 lightning bolts. Seems innocent enough. They were supposed to be next to each other. It would resemble SS. Who did she think she was fooling? When people want 50 million things in one design, they need a dream catcher with Harry Potter symbols, their kids' dates of birth in Roman numerals, plus an infinity symbol feather with bird silhouettes coming off it. Also it needs to be 3 centimeters long and cost £10. I love tattooing dumb shit though. I did a guy's boss's initials under his big toe. Couple of days ago a guy came in for big cunt only on his ankle. One guy got keep on rolling around his nipple as his first tattoo. Workmen are usually the ones to get weird stuff. Got tons of stories of stuff like that. Edit, since some people asked. A random assortments of shit that's happened the past couple of years. A woman wanting a tattoo of her cat's face, but she doesn't have any references of it with its ears in. So I made up some ears. She's like, that's not my cat's ears. She wants a straight line to end where the cat's forehead is like it's been fucking forehead guillotined. Okay, whatever, she's paying and happy with the design. Halfway through I have a stroke of genius and suggest a flower crown. The weird lobotomy cat is no more. Turning up to work at my old studio, and the boss had paid his brother to plaster the walls. Instead he decided to get plastered and do coke off the toilet. Place is a state and looking like a crack den. My appointment is arriving in 2 hours, so mad rush to clean everything and try and sort the holes in the wall. I didn't stay there much longer. The guy who was getting an arm tattoo but walked round trying to get us to comment on his nipples, being super creepy and then just not leaving. Like 2 days ago a guy comes in for a girl's name as his first tattoo. After it was done, his mates are all snapchatting it. He tells me he got his ex's name to mess with her, and they were sending it to her. Thought it was weird he was asking me about how easy it'd be to get covered up halfway through doing it. Bunch of workmen came in, youngest guy wants The Apprentice written across his chest. I'm like, what if you get promoted? He just shrugs. Finish it, sweating my tits off doing a chest tattoo with 7 guys standing round me filming every move, and try to explain to a raucous bunch the aftercare regime. He's not listening at all, but then asks, what happens if it gets infected? I told him then he'll have to get his torso removed. He looked freaked out and I gave him an aftercare form. Sorry, this turned into a novel. Have to get his torso removed. OMG lol, this reads like a dad joke. I love it, glad you scared him into taking care of his tattoo. Complications are no joke, and tattoos look 100x better with proper aftercare. My artist turned away a guy who asked for a giant graphic back piece of Satan fucking Jesus up the ass. I have met 3 separate artists who would probably fight over doing this tattoo for someone. I see nothing wrong with this tattoo. I've always liked the long stem rose on the underside of a penis. That and the hedgehog running into an asshole. Had a woman come in asking for a face tattoo. She wanted my best life on her temple, Jesus ever loving Christ. Normally I will refuse to tattoo someone's face unless they are another tattoo artist or they are already heavily covered in tattoos. She was heavily covered, so I okayed it after suggesting several other spots first. Now let me say, this lady was fucking weird. Rambling about me being her girl and I was gonna make it tight and a whole bunch of other nonsense I was trying to tune out. I'm about 50% sure she was on something, but she signed a waiver claiming she wasn't and I didn't want to be like, hey, are you on drugs or just fucking loony? Anyway, I put the stencil on and she goes to check it out in the mirror. She looks all confused, I can't read it. I remind her that it's backwards because she's looking in a mirror, and after taking a minute to ponder that revelation she's like, can I get it backwards so that when I look in the mirror I can read it? Fucking hell. I try politely to point out how absolutely brain dead that is, but she's getting herself all hyped for this idea, so I have to straight up just be like, I'm not putting backwards writing on your face. I did tattoo her, but I didn't tattoo illegible nonsense on her face, so hopefully that counts. I've also turned down swastikas and Confederate flags, but those stories aren't as interesting, just run-of-the-mill racists. She just wanted to be able to read it herself. Lol, this was good. I'm a tattoo artist in training. Here are things I would turn away: hate symbols, face tats, dick tats, both on the dick and a tat of dicks, basically any genital tats, portraits, name initials matching partner tats, even if they're married. I would try to convince some who wanted a tattoo on skin where it's more likely to fade, such as side of the finger or lip, to move it somewhere where it would last. But I wouldn't flat out refuse it. And commas apparently. I asked my tattoo artist this question and they said a stripper wanted him to tattoo her butthole. He declined without asking what the design was. Not an artist, but has a friend who has a meme as a tattoo. And he's super embarrassed about it for sure. Not a tattoo artist, but this happened to me. I went to a shop and wanted to get a flower on my neck. Talked to the artist and he talked me out of getting it on my neck. He said it was a job killer and he won't do necks or hands on anyone who isn't covered in tattoos. I asked him where he thought would be a good spot for it, and he suggested my lower arm by my elbow. I gotta say, I'm really grateful he didn't let me get a neck tattoo. My partner was asked to tattoo Posh Spice's face onto the face of a bogan from the back blocks of New South Wales. What the hell is a bogan? It sounds like some sort of Star Trek alien.